They came out of the earth, or so the villagers later swore. It was late summer in Woolpit, a small Suffolk settlement surrounded by rolling farmland and the deep trenches dug long ago to trap wolves. The harvest was underway, scythes moving in rhythm, carts filling with grain, when the workers noticed movement near one of the pits. Two children stood there, thin, frightened, and unlike anyone the villagers had ever seen. A boy and a girl, their clothes coarse and unfamiliar, their faces pale but tinted with an unsettling hue. Their skin was green. The harvesters froze. Women clutched their children tighter. At first, no one dared move, for the 12th century was a time when villagers believed demons, fairies, and omens walked just behind the veil of ordinary life. The children stared back, eyes wide with panic. When they tried to speak, their words spilled out in a rapid musical tongue no one recognized. It was not Latin, nor French, nor English. It was something altogether alien, the sound of a country no one in Woolpit had ever heard of. At last, cautious but compelled, the villagers led them into Woolpit. The boy clung to his sister's hand, his steps heavy with exhaustion. They were taken to the manor house of Sir Richard de Calne, the local landholder, whose hall smelled of smoke and barley and the leather of riding tack. He questioned them, but their speech poured out in incomprehensible streams. Food was offered, bread fresh from the oven, meat from the day's hunt, fruit from nearby orchards. All of it they refused. Their small hands pushed the platters aside, their faces twisting in confusion and fear. For days they would not eat. The villagers feared they might starve under a roof filled with plenty. Then, as chance had it, someone brought in baskets of raw, broad beans, still in their pods, freshly cut from tangled vines. The children's eyes lit up. They seized the beans eagerly, cracking open the husks and devouring the tender green inside. At last, they ate until they could eat no more. From then on, beans became their staple, and only slowly did they begin to try other foods. The boy, however, never recovered. Though he ate, he remained listless and weak, his gaze sliding past the hearth fire as if it belonged to another world. Within weeks, he grew paler, and death claimed him quietly. He was buried in the village churchyard, the priest murmuring Latin prayers over a child no one could properly name. The girl survived. Under Sir Richard's care she grew strong, her green hue fading until her skin was indistinguishable from others. She learned the English tongue, was baptized, and in time told her story. She said that she and her brother came from a land where the sun never rose fully. The world there was cloaked in a dim twilight, bathed in greenish light, as if seen through leaves. All the people of that place shared the same complexion. One day, while tending their father's flock, they had followed the sound of bells echoing from beyond a cavern. Entering the darkness, they wandered deeper and deeper until dizziness overcame them and the ground itself seemed to tilt. When they emerged, they found themselves in Woolpit, blinded by the blazing sun and unable to return. Her account fascinated Sir Richard and the villagers, but it solved little. Was this twilight land a distant country hidden behind marshes and forests, a settlement cut off by war, famine, or flood? Or was it, as some whispered near the hearth when the candles burned low, a realm entirely apart from the world they knew, one step sideways from waking life? The girl grew older. She worked among the villagers, learned their proverbs and habits, and laughed at their fairs and feast days. Records say she married in Suffolk and lived out her life among the English, yet she never wavered in her story. She spoke often of her strange homeland, where twilight reigned and bells rang across the air like distant birds. She never forgot her brother, who had died so soon after their arrival, and sometimes, it was said, she drifted toward the fields at dusk as if listening for a sound only she could hear. The tale did not remain in Woolpit. Two respected chroniclers recorded it: William of Newburgh, a careful historian wary of superstition, and Ralph of Coggeshall, an abbot known for collecting marvels with a sober pen. Both preserved the story not as fable, but as testimony. They wrote what they had been told by those who claimed to witness it themselves. They weighed it, admitted their doubts, and set it down anyway because it had the stubborn ring of truth the age could not ignore. Over time, explanations multiplied. Some said the children were fairies who strayed too far into the mortal world, a people of twilight drawn by bell sound into the fields of men. Others claimed they were omens, sent to warn of divine judgment in a century already scarred by famine and quarrelsome kings. Skeptics argued they were Flemish orphans displaced by war along the eastern coast. Their language might have been a low-country dialect, their clothes the odd cut of foreign weaving, their green skin the result of malnutrition, iron hunger that fades when diet improves. Yet doubts remained. Why had the girl spoken so vividly of a world where the light never rose? Why the obsession with beans? And why had the boy wasted away even after being fed and warmed? The mystery endured because the details refused to collapse into a single, tidy answer. Even the best natural explanation, starved, lost children stumbling out of woodland after following the sound of a distant church, cannot explain the entire weight of testimony. William of Newburgh, no friend to fantasies, still chose to write it. Ralph of Coggeshall, who could be severe with rumor, preserved it with care. Between them, the story gained a spine that legend alone rarely keeps. Walk through Woolpit now and little remains of the medieval village as they knew it. The wolf pits are gone, filled in centuries ago, replaced by hedges, lanes, and houses of brick. Yet the land still whispers of what happened. Imagine the harvesters pausing in the sun, startled by two small figures climbing from the earth, their clothes unfamiliar, their words indecipherable, their skin green as young leaves. A boy who would die far from home, a girl who would live on, marry, and yet always speak of a world where the sun never truly shone. As the centuries turned, antiquarians and folklorists revisited the tale. Some placed it beside the stories of fairy abductions and changelings, noting the lure of bells and the danger of thresholds, caves, mounds, and forest mouths where one realm bleeds into another. Others treated it as a historical case of displaced children, their suffering softened by retelling. Modern writers have pointed to iron deficiency, chlorosis, and the strange dietary fixations of starved young bodies. But none of these theories explains the story in full. The facts remain the same. Two children appeared in Woolpit. One perished, the other survived to adulthood and never changed her account. And so, the legend lives. On the village sign at Woolpit, the painted image of two green-skinned children still greets travelers, a quiet notice that not everything in England's long memory can be neatly filed and closed. People stop and wonder if the story was a parable, a misunderstood tragedy, or something far stranger. What endures is simpler. For a handful of late summer days in the 12th century, the border between the known and the unknown felt very thin indeed, and a small village watched two children step across it. Thank you for listening to The Lantern's Tale. Subscribe for more true stories, if you dare.